Scott, we're getting towards the end of the season now, and there's a push for the playoffs. What do you think the chances are of making those playoffs?
Well, I think we've got ourselves in a really good position, a strong position. We've got a game in hand and a couple of games on hand and a lot of teams, and we're running out of games. So I think probably with the 5 games we've got, I'm hoping probably 2 wins will be enough. But that's easier said than done. You know, it's a tough league. As players progress and move on to first team or out on loan, obviously that makes the picture change a little bit, but I'm still confident the boys have got enough ability and quality to get us into the playoffs.
When you start the season, I guess you set like sort of short-term and long-term targets. Do you think you're on target to meet those?
Yeah, if I'm honest, probably overachieved a little bit. I don't think we expected the bigger pictures to get so many lads making their debuts this year. And then losing them players, we obviously thought that it would affect us more. 1 or 2 lads have gone out on loan who've been sort of Will and Sylvan, and who've been really big players for this season. So I thought that the second part of the season would be tougher. But again, the lads have done really well, and in terms of a lot of the performances have performed probably again above expectations.
As the head of the 23's, do you think that the academy's doing a good job in terms of turning those players into first team players?
Well, I think we've got, I think we work very closely together, so everything that happens with the academy is sort of no surprise to me. All my staff and myself work with the academy as well, so I think we all work together, and because of that, I think that's why we're successful. The things they're doing in the under-18s or the 16s or the 15s, it's something that we talk about regularly, and we all do the similar things, so that when boys do come up into the different age groups, they find the transition very simple, very easy. It's not complicated, they're not doing things they're not used to. And again, we have 14-year-olds playing in the 16s, we have 16-year-olds playing in the 23's, and sometimes 17-year-olds playing in the first team. So I think there's a very clear sort of structure to what we do, and a very clear objective what we're trying to do.
And obviously you've had these five or so players playing for the first team. In terms of those, I guess it's great for you to see them playing for the first team. Yeah,
like I've said before, in all my careers in development, that's always been sort of the area, I think, the most important thing. That's what you should be judged on as a youth coach, and a 23 coach, whatever you want to call it, an academy coach, is how many players you get into your first team. And I think from that point of view, to see how well Connor's done, before his injury, Bright's, I think at times showed real moments of where his massive potential is. Harry playing at Liverpool, Morgan at 16 going and playing at Stoke. But above all else, that's been fantastic, and obviously we've got a manager who believes in them, trusts them as well.
Just focusing a bit on what you touched on there. First of all, Connor Ronan made 2 great appearances, Sheffield Wednesday and at Wigan. He was probably the best player on the pitch there. How good is that to see?
Yeah, I think with all young players, you think they've got potential and you think they can cope, but there's a difference between coping and there's a difference between sort of inspiring others. And I think that I saw Connor's performance at Sheffield Wednesday. I thought that he looked as good as anything on the pitch, and at 18 years old, I think he's only just turned 19 now. I think Connor's got a massive potential. Obviously he's had a bit of a setback with his injury, but knowing him, he'll be back ready to go in the summer and come back even stronger. A year older, a little bit more experienced. I'm sure it'll give him a lot more belief in himself that he can do it. And I think all the belief that we've had in him, sometimes the best way to get that belief is to walk out onto the pitch and perform well, and he's done that fantastic. I'm really pleased for him.
And Morgan Gibbs-White, he's a bit younger than them, and he's just got his pro contract. How do you think he's doing?
Well, I think from very early in the pre-season we lost a lot of players to the first team squad because we were short on players, and that pushed Morgan up. And from sort of session 1 with the 23's, we were going, actually he could be as good as anybody here. So nothing that Morgan does surprises me. I think he's exceptional talent. I think he's physically exceptional, and I think for a young boy, his sort of maturity, is fantastic as well. I think he's got a lot of qualities you're looking for in potentially to be a top player. I know there's, every time we have a 23's game, there's always lots of people coming to watch him from lots of clubs. And I'm not surprised, to be fair. I think he's got a lot of potential. Just got picked for England under-17s again, which I know is a really good group as well. So to be in that group, that shows his potential as well. And we're delighted with him. It's great. He's been here since he was, I think, 9, 10, 11 years old. So to see a boy come all that way through, you can see when he plays for Wolves, it really means a lot to him. And, I think that's a big plus for him as well.
Both of those two have been regulars on the first team bench over the last couple of months. What are their heads like in terms of mentality? Is that as important as their ability?
I think it's everything, really. I think that we have a lot of boys coming in who can play football, but the defining thing for me at times is their mentality. Morgan goes up, he's on the bench for the first team on a Saturday, comes and plays for us on a Monday night, and he doesn't come back and think, well, I'm better than everybody else now. I'm a first team player. He comes back and he's again the best player. But that's us challenging him as well. We do have a word with him, and all these young boys are young and they need managing, and we keep on top of them and set them high standards. We want them to be the sort of standard bearers for the team when they come back. That's their job. That's us to push it, and he produces that all the time. I think in the games he's come back, I think he's been outstanding.
Harry Burgoyne, as you mentioned, played at Anfield. Huge moment for him.
Yeah, again, Harry's really developed, I think, massively over last year. Had his loan spells at Corby, at Lowestoft, and at Telford, and I think that was a big help for him to understand what the game's about. And I think it's great sometimes for just the pure physicality of it, of real football, and the importance of winning. And he came back. We've done a lot of work with him this year on the areas we thought he needed to work on, which is especially his kicking, and his kicking under pressure. And I think that's come on leaps and bounds. And now he just looks, when I see him play now, like he looks like a first team goalkeeper playing with the 23's, and that's credit to him, the work he's done and Alad's done with him, and Pat as well. That I think we've all worked together to make sure we develop his weaknesses and making sure that we work on his strengths as well.
And Donovan Wilson's scoring goals for fun for you. Made his debut against Chelsea as well. Great season for him.
Yeah, Donovan's, I think, had a really good season. I think from sort of day one of pre-season he came with a really focused attitude. I think he'd let himself down a little bit the year before in terms of his fitness levels, and I think Donovan recognised that. He put a lot of work in over the summer. Credit to him. We're all young. He's all been young once, and this season I think he's been as good as anybody in the squad. Scores goals, looks like he can score goals, and I actually think there's still more to come from Donovan. I think if he starts to believe in himself a little bit more, I think there's even more. He's got fantastic power, great pace, and I think he needs to just recognise how important them sort of assets he's got to use them even more, and I think he could really set the place on fire next season.
And Brighton Bakari is obviously one that the fans will have seen a bit more of watching the first team. How do you think his development's going?
Yeah, I think Bright's a real talent. He's got great composure on the ball. Can do things that are different. He's a bit different to everybody else, and I think that watching Bright play, I just feel like he needs a goal for the first team to really believe in himself. I still think he's playing within himself a little bit and not really letting go, and I think he needs to let go a little bit and show people how good he is. He goes past people for fun in training, and he does for the 23's and scores some absolutely fantastic goals. And I think that another year, Bright, I think next year again with sort of a little bit more exposure and a little bit more experience again, I expect a lot more from Bright next year as well.
So going into the closing stage of the season, we're in the playoff place at the moment and looking to hopefully secure that place, and we've got a semi-final. Positive end to the season? Yeah,
I think everything we've entered this year we've been competitive in. Obviously Checker Trade was massive first year for everybody in it, and I thought we sort of performed really well, and we made a sort of really good account of ourselves in every game, whether it was against a league club or in the 21 clubs, and won some really good games and won some games comfortably. The league, we've been strong in it all year. I think this is the first time we've been in the semi-finals of the Birmingham Senior Cup in a lot of years, so that again, that's credit to the lads. And I think that this group's come up together with a winning mentality and a successful mentality as under-18s, and I think they've carried it on, and it's our job to make sure that we take the season as far as we can. From my point of view, it gives us more games, gives them more opportunity to play and more opportunity to learn. Training sessions are great, but I think you do mostly your learning in games, and it gives them a different type of game as well. So from my point of view, it's been a really successful season for the lads, but it's not finished yet.